Please be seated. So I'm Paula Scott. I'm the president of NLS, and I'm really delighted to welcome members and visitors to the synagogue today on Zoom, on the live stream, the LJ. We're on the LJ website as a live stream going out on that website. And it's my particular pleasure to welcome Rabbi Charley Baginsky, the Chief Executive Officer of Liberal Judaism, who's joining our own Rabbi Gili Zidkiyahu, on the bimah to lead our service on this memorable occasion for NLS. Today, as you all know, we're marking the 50th anniversary of the inauguration of our shul building, along with taking part in the LJ Open House Shabbat scheme, which is celebrating a somewhat older anniversary, that of 120 years since the formation of LJ, or ULPS as it was at the time. The Open House Shabbat gives us our opportunity here in Nottingham to spotlight to other LJ congregations our commitment to LJ and our strength and vitality as a community. And the plans we have underway now to purchase the land on which this shul stands will hopefully ensure that our members of the future will be able to celebrate 120 years of NLS in 70 years' time. So today is about commemorating that momentous decision, more than 50 years ago now, to go ahead with commissioning this building. That decision was taken by a roll call of people with foresight, enterprise, and very strong nerves. The shul had been founded only a few years before, had at most, I'm told, around 40 members, and had really no guarantee of its future. Apparently, the cost of the building at that time was quoted as being around £25,000. And I looked up the equivalent for today, and that's close to £500,000, 430,000 equivalent to today's prices. Nevertheless, the brave decision to go ahead was taken by those members. At the inauguration 50 years ago, 4 people stood on the bimah here together in front of this ark, and in fact you can see a photo on the boards at the back. Colin Dean, who I'm delighted to say is with us here today. Where are you, Colin? There he is. Who was the first chairman. Martin Brandon Bravo, who was instrumental in helping push through the plans, together on the bimah with Rabbi David Goldberg, the late Rabbi David Goldberg, and Rabbi Sidney Brichter, who was chairman of ULPS, as it was called then. And Dr. John Hall was the president at the time. In the congregation were the others who had each played their own part. Wilfred Myron, who many of us remember, a very imposing character, Lou Canis, the father of Julie Ike, Keith Walton, the architect, Ralph Crader, Ronnie Simmons, the builder, and David Lippman, who is here with us today, as are some of his family, making 3 generations of continuity within this community. Our service will feature those who are with us here or members of their families representing them. In a moment, we'll be hearing a video from Danny Rubens, another member who was instrumental in bringing this ambitious plan to fruition, as you'll hear when this video plays in a few moments. I want to just actually say that the video was made by Harvey Goodman and Wendy Presney, who put in a lot of work to get it done for this service, which is lovely. This moment is a real trip down memory lane for all those who were involved in this really amazing undertaking. How wonderful that we, the current members of this thriving and welcoming community, can show them, those who are here, how their investment in time, money, and undoubted heartache and stress have paid off over the following 50 years. And it's also a moment to recognize the debt of gratitude that we owe them. As a result of their vision, NLS has the invaluable benefit of this building, and in it has thrived and flourished to become a strong progressive Jewish presence in the East Midlands and in the LJ movement. What an achievement, what a reason to celebrate. And we're going to be celebrating tonight when the building will demonstrate its versatility as it's transformed into a venue for our celebratory 1970s party, which promises to be real fun. For now, I'm going to leave you with Danny Rubens and his description of how it all happened. I hope you enjoy the service and the Kiddush which will follow it, and wish you Shabbat Shalom.
So we're going to be talking about the building of the shul in Lloyd Street. And to begin with, the first question, of course, is how did we find the land on Lloyd Street?
Nathan Harris lived very close by, and in one of his walks with his dog, he found this plot of land on the other side of Mansfield Road, because he lived very close by, and reported it to me, only, at a guess, 40 or 45 members at that precise moment. And it would have been very adventurous of us to consider building a shul on the expectation that it was going to grow and become something of an entity in the city. Okay, so we had a council meeting at my house, 10 Hollis Drive, and John Hall sat in the chair, and Martin Bramlin Barber was there as one of the members, and myself and various other people. The subject about building a shul was equivocal because certain members said, no, primarily we must have a rabbi first and then a shul. I didn't agree with this, and neither did one or two other people. I said, well, if you've got a building, people can recognize it, that you're here to stay, and that this is an address for them to come to. Whereas if you've got a rabbi, you haven't got any footings. So they agreed with this, that the building should come first, and somewhere along the line, we would have a rabbi. John Hall, because I'd spoken too much, and my feelings were being expressed, turned round to me and said, Danny, he said, well, I can see you're enthusiastic about the building, so I'm going to give you the authority to go ahead with it. I bit my tongue of trying to start to create a building without any forethought, no thanks, no plans, nothing, just a plain piece of paper. First thing, I said to Martin, you're sitting in as chief officer of the Conservative local council. What committees are you on? So he said, well, I can be on that committee if you want. I said, well, can you secure the land? Because it's no use me talking about trying to build something if you've got nothing to put it on. So off went Martin and did his stuff, and he got 100 years on peppercorn, which you all know about, okay, which then gave us the right to start looking around. We got a piece of land, and that was the starting point. And I went to Keith, and I explained that I'd been given 2 crusts and a loaf of bread, actually more like Jesus, which is 2 loaves of bread and a piece of fish, to raise cash and to build a building. So can we talk about it? So Keith was not very knowledgeable about how do you build a shul. So I rang a friend of mine, Ronnie Simmons. Ronnie and Pearl Simmons were friends, good friends. He had a very well-established building company, and he was also the president of the Shakespeare Street at the same time, which were frowning on our efforts to expand our liberal, well, it wasn't liberal at the time, shul. I got a meeting in Keith's office with Ronnie Simmons, and the 3 of us sat around the table to decide exactly what we could and couldn't do. And with Ronnie's help on guiding it through how a shul should look and what our expectations were, and Keith's knowledge of builders and so forth. We put a package together. I then had to go and raise funds. We raised some funds from ULPS on interest-free terms and conditions over so many years. There were one or two benefactors who were quite prepared to put something of consequence down to form the budget. I decided to build the shul on the same model and shape as the one at Roman Bank, the Reform Shul, where I'd been married, in Leeds. It was an obvious thing to do. Even today I think about it, it must be a miracle. Then we had something in the pocket and we built a building.
I've heard it described as an act of faith.
Well, it was. And Wilk Myron used to use that expression, an act of faith, and it was.
Shabbat Shalom, Mo'adim L'Simcha. Welcome everybody here and on Zoom. It is a great pleasure for me to be leading this service today together with Rabbi Charley Baginsky, my colleague and old friend, and with all you members. And actually, I am not part of this history. My history is 3 weeks long. So it's an extra special experience for me to become part of the story through this event. So to experience together with you these memories and honoring of the past, and actually moving from here into the future of the next few years and many years and decades to come. So for me here, it's a very special occasion. We will start the service. We'll be following the festival morning service that begins on page 437. And Nikki very kindly will be helping with the music in order to make sure that it's not just my strange tunes, but also things that are familiar and part of the synagogue's history. So hopefully we will have a combination that will be suitable for everybody. So please rise for Matovu.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom, good morning. It's so lovely to be able to be with you, not only here in Nottingham, not only on your 50th, but also on this 120th Open Shabbat. We are going to continue our service on the bottom of page 437, 437, and let's read together. My heart is ready, O God, my heart is ready. I will sing praises. Awake, O my soul, awake, O harp and lyre. I will arouse the dawn. I will give thanks to you, O God, among the peoples, and sing your praises among the nations. For your love is high as the heavens, your faithfulness reaches to the cross. It's always apparent to me that I stand on the shoulders of giants. Liberal Judaism is often as proud of its founder parents as it is of the mothers and fathers in the Tanakh. Many of us know the book 100 Years of Liberal Judaism nearly as well as we know the Tanakh. And it says in there, and I was looking at it again last night, it was also in 1964 that the newly appointed executive director, Rabbi Sidney Brichto, was approached to assist in the formation of a new congregation in Nottingham. David and Ray Lippman and so on, giants. I have to pinch myself sometimes that this is my job. I am, in the words of Rabbi Brad Hirschfeld, an unrepentant tribalist. It all comes down to two words, he says: unconditional love, or at the very least, unconditional belonging. A tribe offers the experience of being loved and cared for, not because of what you do, but simply because of who you are. Once you're in the tribe, you are in no matter what. It is in that sense, no matter how wrong we may be, there is always a place for us. Think of it, he says, as an undivorceable family on steroids, if you like. We all need that, and the only question is where and how we're going to get it. I think liberal Judaism's a bit like that. Being a liberal Jew is recognising that our people were born the day Abraham heard the call to leave the tribe and enter the world, to be a blessing. But to be a blessing to whom? Not to his nation, not to his tribe, not even to God, but to be a blessing to all the families on the earth. And so Judaism gave the world sacred tribalism, but it also gave the world sacred globalism. This knowledge of how to balance the universal and the particular is today more important than ever. Today the world sees tribalism and globalism as two irreconcilable positions. On one hand, the forces of globalization seek to unite the world by erasing all differences like national, ethnic and religious identities. And on the other, the violent resurgence of tribalism, nativism, religious and nationalistic intolerance seeks to close us off to the other, to put barbed wire between us and the rest of the world. And although they seem like opposites, extreme globalism and extreme tribalism feed each other. The more the world globalizes without considering and respecting particular cultures, the more violent the tribal reivindication becomes. Meanwhile, the more hateful expressions of tribalism wreak havoc. The more globalists think of particular identities as negative and seek to suppress them. And so, as we pass this halfway point of 120 years of liberal Judaism, I am really conscious of trying to hear the call of the present that recognises the past and ensures we are relevant as we go into the future, that brings together both that tribalist nature of being part of something as liberal Jews, but also hears our call to the world to be part of it. I think that as liberal Jews we have to be what David Brooks, New York columnist, tells us are called weavers. These, he says, are people that share an ethos that puts relationship over self. We're born into relationships, and the measure of our life is the quality of our relationships. The phrase we heard most from weavers, he said, was the whole person. Whether you're a teacher or nurse or neighbour, you have to see and touch the whole person. And every time you assault and stereotype a person, you've ripped the social fabric. But every time you see a person deeply and make them feel known, you've woven it. Liberal Judaism taught me to weave, to work to repair the social fabric wherever it's torn, to weave bits and pieces of social isolation and bring them together into relationship, to gather up the forgotten and the outcast, being shredded by the pressure of living out there on the fringes, and find ways to connect with them, to know each other as people. Weavers are everywhere, doing everything they can to forge connections with each other. Weavers want to know human beings regardless of where society may rank them in our misbegotten need to place people above ourselves. They deliberately seek ways to replace isolation and division with relationships and connections. People may act as if they want to be separate from each other, but ultimately, as we all know, we yearn to belong. About 50 years ago, in an essay called The Vocation of the Cantor, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel asked the question, what does a person expect to attain when they enter a synagogue? In the pursuit of learning, one goes to a library. For pure music, to the concert hall. So what then is the purpose of going to a synagogue? And Heschel's response, in a synagogue, we must cultivate a sense of humanity. It is here that we elevate being a mensch as our most prestigious aspiration. Here, our stories matter. Each person is needed. Every person is necessary. In our diversity of perspective, we become wiser. In our humility of belief, we may transcend our own bias. And in relationship with those whom we disagree, we live out the heart of our tradition's take on truth. It must always serve the higher divine values of compassion, righteousness, and peace. And so in this year of our 120th birthday, it's been my pleasure and honour to visit our communities as they open themselves up on their open Shabbatot. It inspires me to know we definitely have a future and a hope, and that we're standing on the edge of a real promised land with a re-energised strength and clear vision. At the helm of Nottingham, you now have a master weaver, your new rabbi. In partnership with all of you is a beginning of a new journey to create another beautiful legacy, not only for your wonderful community, but for liberal Judaism as a whole. As we enter this Shabbat for Nottingham Liberal Synagogue and for LJ as a whole, let us remember that blessing offered by Lily Montague in her work, The Spiritual Possibilities of Judaism Today. She said, "Let us tell them indeed that they can only be Jews and Jewesses if they do live up to the ideals of truth and morality expounded by the best teachers of their age. May that be our blessing and our blessing to bring to our tribe, to all tribes, and to the world. Amen." We continue our service now with our Kohelet, which you can find on, there we go.
Vanity of vanities, says Kohelet, vanity of vanities. All is vanity. What do we gain by all the toil at which we toil under the sun? A generation goes, a generation comes. The sun rises and the sun goes down. The wind blows to the south and veers round to the north.
Round and round goes the wind, circling back to where it begins.
All streams run to the sea, but the sea is not full.
To the place where they flow, they continue to flow.
All things are full of weariness.
Weariness beyond description.
The eye is never satisfied with seeing.
nor the ear filled with hearing.
What has been will be, and what has been done will be done.
And there is nothing new under the sun,
For everything there is a season,
and a time for every purpose under heaven,
a time to be born,
and a time to die,
a time to plant,
and a time to pluck up what is planted,
a time to kill,
and a time to heal,
a time to break down,
and a time to build up,
a time to weep,
and a time to laugh,
a time to mourn,
and a time to dance,
a time to cast away stones,
and a time to gather stones together,
a time to embrace,
and a time to refrain from embracing,
a time to seek,
and a time to lose,
a time to keep,
and a time to discard,
a time to rend,
and a time to sow,
a time to keep silence,
and a time to speak,
a time to love,
and a time to hate,
and a time for war.
and a time for peace.
The end of the matter, all having been heard,
Revere God and keep God's commandments, for that is the whole purpose of human life.
May this continue to be a time to build, a time to dance, a time for peace. And we continue on page 454. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשה ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בחינות. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך ארנן. מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. צדיק אתה אמר יפרח, כארץ הלבנון ישגה שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו, עוד ינובון בצבע, דשנים ורעננים יהיו להגיד, כי ישר אדוני צורי ולא עוולה. turn to page 456 and stand for Baruch Hu. Please be seated. Let us read the English together. We praise you, Eternal One, our God, Sovereign of all the universe, Maker of light and Creator of darkness, Author of peace and Creator of all things. In your mercy you give light to the earth and all who live on it. And in your goodness you renew creation continually, day by day. How manifold are your works, O God! With wisdom have you made them all. The world is full of your creation. Your handiwork proclaim your praise. The radiant stars here witness to your glory. Baruch Ata Adonai, Yotzer HaMeorot. Ahava Rabba Ahavtanu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chemla Gdola Vitera, Chamalta Aleinu, Ahavinu Malkeinu, Ba'avur Avoteinu, שבטחו בך, אבינו מלכנו, ותלמדם חוקי חיים, כן תכוננו תלמדנו, ותן בליבנו להבינו להשכיל, לשמוע ללמוד וללמד. לשמור לעשות ולקיים את כל דברי תורתך באהבה, והארננו בתורתך, ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחד לבבנו וליראה את שמך, כי בנו בחרת ליחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. Now, before we say the Shema, Shema Israel, I'm thinking about all what these walls have heard through the years. The music, the tunes, the blessings, the prayers, the chit-chat, the children, everything that's, all the sounds that were made between these walls, and all the sounds that we hope to keep making in decades to come. Shema Israel, Adonai לעולם ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Please be seated and let us read the English together. Be mindful of all my commandments and do them. So shall you be consecrated to your God. I, the Eternal One, am your God, who led you out of Egypt to be your God. I, the Eternal One, am your God. Good and beautiful and true, sound, established and enduring are these words, now and forever. The everlasting God is our sovereign. The rock of Jacob is the shield of our salvation. Eternal God, you redeemed us from Egypt and freed us from the house of bondage. Then, with great joy, Moses, Miriam, and all Israel together sang to you this song. שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים לשמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו.
When you go to different liberal communities, you realise how there have become slight variations in even the same tune. And I think for Gili, this must be a complete culture shock, because it's not only from one liberal community to another, but from Israeli communities to ours. But it's lovely to hear. We're on page 460, for the Amidah. Adonai sevatai tirta ufia gita hilatecha. Adonai sevatai tirta ufia gita hilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'Emotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanura, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocheh Hasei Avot ve'Imaot, U'mevi Gula Livnei V'nehem, Leman Shemo B'Yachava, Melech Ozer Moshiach Magei, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Meitim Atah Rav L'Choshia, Mashiv HaRuach V'Morid HaGeshem, Mazriach HaShemesh V'Morid HaTal, Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayei Meitim B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim B'Rofeh Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umakayem Emunato Lishenei Afa, Mi Chamocha Ba'al Geburot, Umi Domelach, Melech Meimit Umachaye Umatzmir Yeshua, V'ne'eman ata l'chayot meitim, Baruch ata Adonai, mechayei hameitim. We revere and sanctify you, even as in the prophet's vision the seraphim sanctified you in the temple. As it is written, they called to one another and proclaimed, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Adonai Adonenu, ma'adeh shimcha b'chol ha'aretz. From your concealment, turn to us in mercy. Be gracious to the people who call you one, who continually, twice each day, proclaim with love.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu, hu Malkeinu, hu Moshienu. V'hu yashmienu barachamav shenit le'nei kol chai.
Ani Adonai Elohim.
V'divrei kodshecha katuv le'amor.
Yemloch Adonai le'olam, Elohai Yitzion, Lador vador.
Lador vador nagid godlecha, u'lenetza netzachim kedushaktecha nakdish. V'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush, le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh. Let's read together. Sit down. You have given us a special task among the peoples. In your love and favor, you have sanctified us by your commandments, drawn us near to your service, and charged us to make known your great and holy name. In your love, you eternal one, our God, you have given us Sabbaths of rest, feasts of joy, and seasons of gladness. Among them this Sabbath day and this festival of Sukkot, season of our gladness, to unite us in worship and in remembrance of the exodus from Egypt. Our God and God of our ancestors, be mindful of us and all your people of the house of Israel. Grant us well-being and blessing, life and peace on this festival of Sukkot. This day remember us for well-being.
Amen.
Bless us with your presence.
Amen.
And grant us continued life.
Amen.
Grant, eternal God, that our observance of the festivals may bring us blessing, happiness, and joy. Sanctify us by your commandments and make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. And grant, eternal God, that the joy of the Sabbath and the festival of festivals may be with us always. We praise you, O God. You hallowed the Sabbath, Israel, and the festivals. Eternal God, be gracious to your people Israel, and in your love accept their prayers. May our worship now and always be acceptable in your sight. We praise you, O God, whom alone we worship in reverence. Modim anachnu lach, Shata hu Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu le'olam va'ed. Sur chayenu magen yishenu, Ata hu lador vador. Nodeh lecha nesaper tehilatecha, Al chayenu hamasorim biyadecha, V'al nishmotenu hapekudot lach, V'al nisecha shebachol yom imanu, V'al niflotecha v'tovotecha, Shebachol eit erev v'voker v'sorayim. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, u'lecha na'er l'hodot. Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu, brachenu bracha hamashuleshet hakutva b'torah. Our God and God of our ancestors, bless us with the threefold benediction of the Torah. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. May this be God's will. Ya Adonai panav elecha v'hunecha, ken yihi ratzon. May God look kindly upon you and be gracious to you.
May this be God's will.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
Amen. Kein yehi ratzon.
And may God reach out to us in tenderness and give us peace.
Amen. May this be God's will.
Grant peace, welfare and blessing, grace, love and mercy to us and to all Israel, your people. As a loving parent, bless us with the light of your presence. For by the light of your presence, eternal God, you have revealed to us the law of life, a love of kindness, righteousness, blessing and mercy, life and peace. For it is good in your sight that your people Israel and all peoples be blessed at all times with your gift of peace. We praise you, O God, the source of peace. Baruch atah Adonai, Oseh HaShalom.
Continue on page 468 with a special Hallel service for Shabbat of Sukkot, and we will start with reading the Hallel blessing in Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu likro et hahallel. Hallelujah! Give praise, O servants of the Eternal One.
Praise the name of the Eternal One.
Let God's name be praised now and forever.
From the rising of the sun to its setting, let God be praised.
Exalted above the nations is Israel's God.
Whose glory is above the heavens.
Who can be compared to our God, who is enthroned on high?
And yet goes down on heaven and earth.
Who raises the poor from the dust,
And lifts up the needy from the gutter.
to give them a place among the great.
Among the leaders of the people. Hallelujah.
And we continue on page 471 in the middle of the page with Israel. Israel, 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 betach ba'Adonai. Israel, 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 עזרם ומגינם הוא. בית אהרון ביטחו באדוני, עזרם ומגינם הוא. ירא אדוני ביטחו באדוני, עזרם ומגינם הוא. אדוני זכרנו יברך. יברך את בית ישראל, יברך את בית אהרון. יברך ירא אדוני, הקטנים עם הגדולים. יוסף אדוני עליכם, עליכם ועל בניכם, ברוכים אתם לאדוני. עושה שמיים וארץ, השמיים שמיים לאדוני, והארץ נתן לבני אדם. לא המתים יהללויה, ולא כל יורדי דומה. ואנחנו נברך יה, מעתה ועד העולם. ואנחנו נברך יה, מעתה ועד ad olam. Hallelujah, hallelujah. And we continue on page 475 on the top of the page. Min hametzar karati anani bamerchavia. Let us read the Hebrew together. Adonai li lo ira, ma ya'aseh li adam. Adonai li be'ozri, ve'ani er'e ושונאי. טוב לחסות באדוני, מבטוח באדם. טוב לחסות באדוני, מבטוח בנדיבים. עוזי וזמרתיה, ויהי לי לישועה. כל רינה וישועה באוהל צדיקים, כל רינה וישועה באוהל צדיקים. ימין אדוני עושה חיל, ימין אדוני רוממה, ימין אדוני עושה חיל, עושה חיל. לא אמות כי אחיה ואספר מעשי יה. Open for me the gates of righteousness. This is the gate of the Eternal One. עודך, עודך, כי אני תהני, ותהי לי לישועה. עודך, עודך, כי אני תהני, ותהי לי לישועה. אבן מעשו הבונים, הייתה לראש פינה. אבן מעשו הבונים, הייתה לראש פינה. מאת אדוני הייתה הזאת, היא נפלאת בעינינו. מאת אדוני הייתה הזאת, היא נפלאת בעינינו. זה היום עשה אדוני, נגילה ונשמחה בו. This is the day that God has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. אנא אדוני הושיענה, אנא אדוני הושיענה, אנא אדוני הצליחנה. ברוך הבא בשם אדוני, ברכנוכם מבית אדוני. אלי אתה ואודקה, אלוהי ארוממך. הודו לאדוני כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו. הודו לאדוני כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו. הודו לאדוני כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו. We continue our service with the Torah service, and we will follow the one on page 481, Kriyat Torah for Shabbat morning. אין כמוך באלוהים אדוני, ואין כמעשיך. מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דור. אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו It's all these visitors, we can't cope with them, we can't cope with the anything. The middle one, the second one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu. יחדיו יעמוד דוד יהודה בן ראובן לתורה. This is where I'll start.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'notan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten hatorah.
אמן. ויאמר אדוני אל משה, פסול לך 2 לוחות אבנים כראשונים, וכתבתי על הלוחות את הדברים אשר היו על הלוחות הראשונים אשר שיברת. והיה נכון לבוקר, ועלית בבוקר אל הר סיני, וניצבת לי שם על ראש ההר, ואיש לא יעלה עמך, וגם איש על ירע בכל ההר, גם הצאן והבקר על יראו אל מול ההר ההוא. ויפסול 2 לוחות אבנים כראשונים, וישקה משה בבוקר, ויעל אל הר סיני, כאשר ציווה אדוני אותו. ויקח בידו 2 לוחות אבנים, וירד אדוני בענן, ויתייצב עמו שם, ויקרא בשם אדוני. ויעבור אדוני על פניו ויקרא, אדוני, אדוני, אל רחום וחנון, ערך אפיים ורב חסד ואמת, נוצר חסד לאלפים, נושא עוון ופשע וחטאה, ונקה לא ינקה. פוקד עוון אבות על בנים ועל בני בנים ועל שלישים ועל ריבעים. וימהר משה ויקוד ארצה וישתחו ויאמר, אם נא מצאתי חן בעיניך אדוני, ילך נא אדוני בקרבנו, כי עם קשה עורף הוא. וסלחת לעווננו ולחטאותינו ונחלתנו. ויאמר, הנה אנוכי כורת ברית נגד כל עמך, אעשה נפלאות אשר לא נבראו בכל הארץ ובכל הגויים. וראה כל העם אשר אתה בקרבו את מעשה אדוני כי נורא הוא, אשר אני עושה עמך. שמור לך את אשר אנוכי מצווך היום. הנני גורש מפניך את האמורי והכנעני והחיתי והפרזי והחיבי והיבוסי. הישמר לך פן תכרות ברית ליושב הארץ אשר אתה בא עליה, פן יהיה למוקש בקרבך. כי את מזבחותם תנתצון, ואת מצבותם תשברון, ואת אשריו תכרותון, כי לא תשתחווה לאל אחר, כי אדוני קנה שמו אל קנהו. פן תכרות ברית ליושב הארץ וזנו אחרי אלוהיהם, וזבחו לאלוהיהם, וקרא לך ואכלת מזבחו, ולקחת מבנותיו לבניך, וזנו בנותיו אחרי אלוהיהן, והזנו את בניך אחרי אלוהיהן. אלוהי מסכה לא תעשה לך. את חג המצות תשמור 7 ימים. את חג המצות תשמור 7 ימים תאכל מצות, אשר ציוויתיך למועד חודש האביב, כי בחודש האביב יצאת ממצרים. כל פטר רחם לי, וכל מקנך תזכר, פטר שור ושה, ופטר חמור תפדה בשה, ואם לא תפדה וערפתו. כל בכור בניך תפדה, ולא יראו פני רקם. 6 ימים תעבוד, וביום השביעי תשבות. בחריש ובקציר תשבות. וחג שבועות תעשה לך, ביקורי קציר חיטים. וחג האסיף, תקופות השנה, 3 פעמים בשנה. 3 פעמים בשנה יראה כל זכורך את פני האדון, אדוני אלוהי ישראל. כי אוריש גויים מפניך, והרחבתי את גבולך, ולא יחמוד איש את ארצך, בעלותך לראות את פני אדוני אלוהיך 3 פעמים בשנה. לא תשחט על חמץ דם זבחי, ולא ילין לבוקר זבח חג הפסח. ראשית ביקורי אדמתך תביא בית אדוני אלוהיך, לא תבשל גדי בחלב אמו.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורות.
אמן. יישר כוח. יישר כוח. We were reading this designated for Sukkot, and it's from the Parashat Kitisa in the book of Exodus in Sefer Shmot. It tells the story of the second luchot, the second tablets. Thank you. The second tablets that Adonai is commanding Moshe to write. We are reading it because towards the end part, the 3 major festivals are mentioned: Shavuot, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. And it is stated to celebrate them in the right season of the year. Chag HaKatzir v'Chag HaAsif, in the time of the harvest and in the time of the end of the harvest, or collecting the remains of the harvest, to celebrate these festivals. This was our reading for today. You will be reading the Haftarah.
I'm going to be reading the Haftarah for Cholamoid Pet Sukkot, which is Ezekiel 38, chapters 18 to 39. They're rather fire and brimstone, as you'll hear. I'm talking about Armageddon and Armageddon type. Quite powerful. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher bacha banu mikol ha'amim. Yeah, I haven't got the wrong one, yes. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher bacha b'nviim tovim, v'ratzah b'divreihem, ha'ne'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai, abocher b'torah, u'b'moshe abdo, ובישראל עמו, ובנביאי האמת והצדק. On that day, when Gog sets foot on the soil of Israel, declares the Eternal, my raging anger shall flare up. For I have decreed in my indignation and in my blazing wrath, on that day a terrible earthquake shall befall the land of Israel. The fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, the beasts of the field, all creeping things that move on the ground, and every human being on earth shall quake before me. Mountains shall be overthrown, cliffs shall topple, and every wall will crumble to the ground. I will then summon the sword against him throughout my mountains, declares the Eternal. And every man's sword shall be turned against his brother. I will punish him with pestilence and with bloodshed, and I will pour torrential rain, hailstones, and sulphurous fire upon him, and his hordes, and the many people with him. Thus will I manifest my greatness and my holiness, and make myself known in the sight of many nations, and they shall know that I am the Eternal. And you, O mortal, prophesy against Gog, and say, Thus said the Eternal, I am going to deal with you, O Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. I shall turn you around and drive you on, and I will take you from the far north and lead you toward the mountains of Israel. I will strike your bow from your left hand, and I will loosen the arrows from your right hand. You shall fall on the mountains of Israel, you and all your battalions, and the peoples who are with you. I will give you as food to carrion birds of every sort, and to the beasts of the field, as you lie in the open field. For I have spoken, declares the Eternal. And I will send a fire against Magog, and all those who dwell secure in the coastlands, and they shall know that I am the Eternal. And I will make my holy name known among my people Israel, and never again will I let my holy name be profaned. And the nations shall know that I, the Eternal, am holy in Israel. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzor kol haolamim, tzadik b'chol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'aman, ha'omer v'oseh, ha'medaber u'mekayim, shechol dvarav emet v'tzedek. Al ha'torah v'al ha'avodah, v'al ha'neviim v'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh, שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל אדוני אלוהינו אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך. יתברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Eternal God, whose dominion embraces the universe, we ask your blessing for our sovereign King Charles and all the royal family, for those who govern our country and all who influence the quality of its national life. Make them conscious of their responsibility and teach them to exercise it in accordance with your will. May we all help to fashion in this country a society that excels in freedom and justice, tolerance and compassion, so that it may be a force for righteousness and peace in the life of humanity. Eternal God, as you blessed our ancestors in generations past, bless now this congregation, its leaders and its members, and all who enter this synagogue to meet, to study, and to pray. Comfort the sorrowing hearts among us, and heal those in anxiety or pain.
May we all find here community and friendship, renewal of purpose and hope, a deeper understanding of our heritage, and a sense of your abiding presence. Bless all congregations of the House of Israel throughout the world, that those who live under oppressive rule soon be freed, and may we all unite to witness your truth and do your will. Amen. Eternal God, our rock and redeemer, grant blessing to the state of Israel, created to fulfill an age-old dream and to be a haven for the oppressed. Inspire its leaders and citizens with faithfulness to the aims of its founders, to develop the land for the benefit of all its inhabitants, and to implement the prophetic ideals of liberty and justice. May they live in harmony with one another and in peace with their neighbours, and cause to come true once more the ancient vision that out of Zion shall go forth Torah and the word of God from Jerusalem. Amen. Amen.
יהללו את שם אדוני, כי נשגב שמו לבדו. הורו על ארץ ושמים, וירם קרב לו, תהילה God's teaching is perfect. Reviving the soul. God's words is unfailing. Making wise the simple. God's precepts are right. Delighting the mind. God's commandments are clear. Enlightening the eyes. God's doctrine is pure. Enduring forever. God's guidance is true. And altogether just. Please be seated. The concept of a permanent home is an ambivalent one in our tradition. It is a sought-after vision, a plan for the future, a dream, but the focus is always on the journey. Tomorrow we will celebrate the completion of the yearly cycle of reading the Torah. And then we will start again, year after year, we will repeat the story of the journey, the preparations and the plans. And every year, when we're almost there, we will start over again, wandering in the wilderness. In the epilogue to the Hebrew edition of the book The Ritual Process by the anthropologist Victor Turner, Andrei Levy, an Israeli anthropologist, describes Turner's understanding of the humans not only as part of their place of belonging, but also through their journeys. In his words, he describes it as understanding humans not only by their roots with a double O, but also by their roots, or I'm not sure how to extend. Yes, but the roots and the roots, yes. There's probably a slight difference in how you pronounce it, but no. Oh, okay. So no difference, only the spelling. So understanding by the roots with a O-U, not only by the roots with a double O. Movement and transition are essential to the human experience. Thus, we should research and look, like we said, not only at the roots, but also at the roots. And this is, of course, very true for the Jewish people of all times. So there is always a yearning, a wish for a makom, a place. But makom is also the name of the divine that is everywhere and has no specific place. Everywhere, or maybe not everywhere, but in those places that we create that allow the divine presence to appear and to dwell, whether it's physical places or personal places, interpersonal places, where the Shekhinah or the Makom can dwell. In a Talmudic midrash from Tractate Brachot, the sages are debating, where can God be found? This is, of course, after the destruction of the temple that was supposed to be the house of God. And the rabbis, the sages, the rabbis of that time, they had to really reinvent the whole culture and the way to relate to God and to the possible relationship with the divine. And so they say, Amar Ravin bar Rav Ada, Ravin, the son of Rav Ada, says in the name of Rabbi Yitzchak, how do we know that God, that the divine presence is in the synagogue? Because he quotes from Psalms, Elohim nitzav be'adat el. God stands in the congregation of God. So this is how we know that in this place God can be found. And how do we know that God can be found between 10 people who are gathering together in prayer? And again, the same verse is quoted, Elohim nitzav be'adat el. So now we can put the focus not on the place, but on the people, where people are gathering. This is adat el, and this is a congregation, a divine congregation, and this is where God can be found. And how do we know that if only 2 people are sitting together and studying Torah, that Shekhinah, that the divine presence will be with them? Because as it is said, as it is stated, אז נדברו יראי אדוני איש אל רעהו ויקשב אדוני. Then that the feared God spoke one with the other, and God was listening. So this is a quote from Malachi. So if 2 people are speaking words of God or words of Torah, then God is also there. And how do we know that even if there is one person that sits and studies Torah, the divine presence will be there? Because, and there is a quote from Exodus, from the book of Shmot, בכל המקום אשר אזכיר את שמי אבוא אליך וברכתיך. In every place where I cause my name to be mentioned, I will come to you and bless you. So this midrash offers 3 options, and all exist here in Nottingham Liberal Synagogue. A physical place where people come to worship, a group of people who congregate together, and a place of study and personal growth. So God doesn't actually need a place, but God needs the people, and the people need the place. The Hebrew term for synagogue, and this relates a lot to your Dvar Torah, Rabbi Baginsky, the Hebrew term for synagogue, Bet Knesset, does not translate to house of prayer or house of worship, but a house of gathering. And the gathering could be worship, study, tzedakah, and more. And yes, also a 70s style party. That's appropriate for a Bet Knesset. Elohim nitzav be'adat el. So before I finish, I want to read a poem by the poet Adbiel Kosman, who is also a professor of Talmud, a writer, and the academic head of the Geiger College in Germany. And this poem is called Wanted. Wanted, a quiet place to rest the soul, just for a few moments. Wanted a place to rest the feet, just for a few moments. Wanted a plant, a leaf, a stalk of shrub that won't fold up when the soul arrives, just for a few moments. Wanted one phrase, clean, agreeable, and warm, to serve as a bench, a refuge, for someone close to me, a dove child, my own soul, who left the ark this morning for a few moments in the early hours and couldn't find a place to rest her feet. So as well as a house of gathering, of people coming together, may this be a place of rest for the soul, a place that the soul can revive and rejuvenate. Coming back to roots and roots before I finish. For 50 years, this house of gathering has been a place for the community to grow and develop. It offered stability and continuity. But the journey never ends. Within the safe boundaries of the home and from the strong home base to the outer community, the journey will continue to maintain and preserve, to develop and change, to reach out and reach in, to explore and expand both the roots and the roots. Shabbat Shalom. Rabbi Charley, please.
Conclude our service with the Elenu, which you can find on page 520. Aleinu l'shabach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, השם אלוקינו לאחד את שמו, וגורלנו להמליך מלכותו. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נותן שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו היות, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, כך כתוב בתורתו, ידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת לאמוד. Trusting in you, eternal God, we hope soon to behold the glory of your might, when false gods will vanish from our hearts and idolatry cease forever. Help us to perfect the world by bringing it under your unchallenged rule, when all will invoke your name, relinquish evil, and turn to you alone. May all who dwell on earth come to know that to you every knee must bend and every tongue swear loyalty. Before you let them humble themselves, and to your glorious name let them give honour. Let all submit to your sovereign rule. May that time come soon and last forever, for ultimate sovereignty is yours, and to all eternity you'll reign in glory. As it is written, the Eternal One shall reign forever. Adonai, lemelech al kol haaretz, vayom hahu, yireh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. Turn to page 522, and the reading before the Kaddish in the middle of page 522 seems particularly the right reading, as this Shabbat we are of course thinking of our loved ones, but we're also thinking of those who are no longer with us in both our 120-year history, but particularly today in the history of this community, who built this community, who shared the joys of this community, who shed the tears in those happy moments as well as those sad moments. As we worship before you, O God, we think of those who once shared with us the joys and burdens of life and who are no longer in our midst. The sorrow of bereavement is softened by the bond of love which continues to unite us with our dear ones, and by our cherished memories of them, which we will always carry in our hearts. May all that was good in their lives remain with us as an influence for good. O God, grant consolation to those who are in sorrow and light to those in darkness, and teach us at all times to put our trust in you and to praise your name. And so this Shabbat we're thinking particularly of the outside of Julian Bogard, Yehuda ben Mordechai, father of David. We're thinking of all those who built our community and are no longer with us. We're thinking of all those we continue to name in our hearts, all those who would have shared with us the joys of Sukkot, the joys of Shabbat. and for all those who no longer have anyone to say Kaddish for them. And so we join together in saying, Yit Gadal v'Yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, B'alma Divrach Hiritei B'amlich Malkutei, B'chayechon u'b'yomechon, u'b'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, B'gala b'zman karim v'emru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mevorach le'olam u'mer mayam. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'itpa'ah v'imam v'itnaseh, v'yitada v'talel v'talal Shemei d'Kodeshav Rehu. Lela min kol brachata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, yamiran v'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Osei shalom v'mromav, uyasei shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol b'nei Adam v'imru Amen. May the Most High Source of perfect peace grant peace to us, to all Israel, and to all humanity, and let us say Amen. Please be seated. Do we have announcements before Adon Olam?
No, Adon Olam before announcements.
Perfect, you're in charge.
Nikki, will you join me? Adon Olam on page 525. Now, I've been told that I can pick any tune I like, which is really quite a lot of power for a singer who normally follows. But I was reminded by some of the younger people in our congregation today that their favourite Adon Olam is the one that we sing at bar mitzvahs. So that's the one we will sing today. Adon Olam Hashem Allah B'terem kol yitzir nivra Adon Olam Let nasa b'chef sakol Adon melech shemo nikra Adon Olam Adon Olam Hashem Allah B'terem kol yitzir nivra Let nasa b'chef sakol Adon Olam Shemo nikra Adon Olam V'yacharei kechot ha'ol L'la Adon Noach Adon Olam V'hu haya v'hu haleh V'hu yeh b'tifara Adon Olam Adon Olam Hashem Allah B'terem kol yitzir nivra Nitnasa B'chef sakol L'fam alem Shemo nikra Adon Olam V'hu echad v'en sheni L'ham shelo be'avira Adon Olam Beli reshit Beli tachlit V'lo ha'ot ha'mo mizrach Adon Olam Adon Olam Hashem Allah B'terem kol yitzir nivra Nitnasa B'chef sakol L'fam alem Shemo nikra Adon Olam V'hu eli V'hai go'ali V'tzuchem li b'yetzara Adon Olam V'hu nisi U'manos li Manach chosi b'yom mikal Adon Olam Adon Olam Hashem Allah B'terem kol yitzir nivra Nitnasa B'chef sakol V'fam melech shemo nikra Adon Olam V'yo'ado afkid ruchi B'etzi sham v'yachira Adon Olam V'im ruchi geviyatzi Adon Ali v'lehira Adon Olam Adon Olam Hashem Allah B'terem kol yitzir nivra Nitnasa B'chef sakol V'fam melech shemo nikra Adon Olam. יישר כוח. May the one whose presence dwells in this house cause love and harmony, peace and friendship to dwell among you. מי ששיכן את שמו בבית הזה, הוא ישכין בינינו אהבה ואחווה, שלום ורעות. שבת שלום. סוזן, בבקשה.
Wow.
What a service. Thank you so much, both of you, Rabbi Charley and Rabbi Gili, for sharing the bimah with style and grace, for not one but two really inspiring sermons, and for just a wonderful service. There are also many thanks, because many people have been involved, which is one of the lovely things about our community. Nothing is done by one person alone. I'm in great anxiety that I might forget to thank somebody. Please do all consider yourself thanked. But somebody who isn't here, Catherine Strauss, actually started all of this by saying at some point, possibly even last year, do you know that it will be the 50th anniversary of the building and we should do something? And then lots of conversations happened and many people did many things. Wendy did a huge amount of organising and liaising and talking to a wide range of different people. And I will forget some of them. But today we should thank Rites and Practices and Peter Gordon especially for organising the mitzvot and choreographing and managing everybody on the bimah. We should of course, as ever, thank Mike for his sterling and intense and prolonged work on the tech. We should thank Wendy and Harvey and of course Danny Rubins for that wonderful interview that we started the day with. And so, very brief announcement what's on. This evening, you may have heard that there's a 1970s party. There's also allegedly Havdalah on Zoom at 6:30. You probably can't make both, so you'll have to make a choice. It's already been mentioned, we've got Simchat Torah tomorrow evening at 6:30 and Monday morning at 10:30. We've got a Parsha session on Thursday with Ida Waxberg. And next week, our rabbi is really settling in because it's her first Shabbat off. And so we've got Peter Gordon doing Erev Shabbat on Zoom, and we've got Dov Steckel taking the Shabbat morning service, which should be a lovely service as well. So Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach, and enjoy the rest of the day and the displays, which are fascinating about the story of the synagogue. Thank you.
Wait, David is coming back. Yeah, so we're not finished yet.
Please remain seated. There is more speaking.
If you want everybody to listen, maybe before it's better, because after it's more stuffing, yeah.
Yes, that was a wonderful film, Dan. The congregation was so fortunate in having somebody like Danny with his experience and being prepared to take on this project. Oh, Madam President, Colin might have been premised into pares, but first chairman he was not. John Paul was the first chairman. No, we didn't start. You don't start off running before you can walk. John Hall was the uncle of Catherine Strauss, so it's particular. But Colin was the second chairman, and as Danny said, there was a bit of not a dispute, but a discussion as to whether we should have a rabbi first or a building. And I think that the building, most of them, or many of us, thought that the building was probably the better option, because once you paid for the building, that was a one-off payment, as it were, once you paid off, whereas a rabbi would be, and is, quite proper, ongoing, annual, monthly, daily, financial commitment, and how would we possibly save with that commitment to the well? So I think that is the main thought behind those concepts that are building. And the committee didn't have anything so grand as a council then. It was just a committee, and the committee had the good sense to appoint Danny and Martin Brandon Bravo to run the project to get the building built. And Martin was a chief executive of a hosiery company, but more important, he was a Nottingham city councillor and ultimately became a member of parliament. And it was through his good offices that this land was acquired to build the synagogue. I remember Danny telling me that his architect. Is that me? Now? I suppose I want to refer to Mark as saviour in this holy building. There's only one saviour, isn't there? Oh, thanks very much, Mike. Where was I? Who knows? Who cares? So I remember Danny telling me that his architect, Keith Walton, had been to have a look at a few synagogues around the country. And it was in consultation then that, as Danny says, with Ronnie Simmons from the Orthodox Synagogue, who built this synagogue, and I think only stepped foot in it as a place of worship once. Yeah. And I think that might have been for Nick Rubin's bar mitzvah. It's wonderful having two daughters here. Yeah. Oh. Thanks. So the money. Yes, as Danny said, there were very few significant donations, and then the rest of us made such interest-free loans to the congregation as we could afford. Well, at that time, the treasurer was David Osborne, but he became ill. Derek Silk, the wonderful Derek Silk, took over as treasurer. I think we said that he set the standard really for future equally wonderful treasurers. I have to say that with Dr. Peter Gordon here, but also I refer, for example, to Peter Strauss, and Derek, who sorted out when the loans had to be repaired to the individual. There was a bank loan guaranteed by members. There was, I think, from excuse me, from the Union of Liberal and Progressive Synagogues, which was the forerunner of what is now liberal Judaism. They both lent us money, but also donated money, gave us a grant, as I call. There were the members and the bank loan and so on. So between us, we got the money together. The year before, 1971, we had an extraordinary general meeting to discuss whether we should proceed with this ridiculous enterprise. Remember, there were 40 or so members of it. And at that meeting, Wilfred Myron made that telling intervention. It is an act of faith. And that, I think, swayed the meeting, and the resolution was passed quite easily. I have to tell you that Wilfred Myron was the most distinguished Jew in the Midlands. And if I feel confident enough, and if I've only spoken for less than 25 minutes, I'll give you a couple of stories. A telling intervention. And as a result of that, we built the building. It's interesting, there are many ways in which the president and I disagree. And Paula's checked what £25,000 was in today's money. I did too. And I prefer my equivalent, and I'll tell you why. Because my equivalent says that the 25,000 then in today's money is worth £180,000. Does that ring a bell? Well, it should do. It's the money that we need in order, if we're going to be able to acquire the freehold of this building. So, but imagine that was the size of the problem, the equivalent of £180,000 with just 40 or so members. Yeah, let me tell you a bit about Wilfred Myron. He was a remarkable man.
We've got a hall to decorate.
What did you say?
We have a hall to decorate.
Oh, okay. Later. Sorry, Joe. Okay. 2 minutes. Two minutes. Wilfred Myron, a remarkable man. I've been heckled by better people than you, Jim. He was born in South Wales, left school at 15, became a solicitor, came to Nottingham to work for the Coal Board. And he was in the army and during the war. And in the army, he was the commanding officer to a man called Templeman, whom he encouraged to become a barrister. Templeman became a barrister, not only a barrister, he became a judge. Not only a judge, he became, in those days, a Lord of Appeal. The very top rank of judges, now the Supreme Court. And Templeman was at Wilfred's 80th birthday party. And Templeman told me that when in his difficult cases, in his difficult judgments, he sent them to Wilfred, for Wilfred to cast his eye on them and just to refine them and to make sure that Templeman, hadn't got it right, which is a fantastic tribute to Wilfred Myron's brain as a chap who left school at 15. So that's his brilliance. Let me tell you about his fallibility. I'll be very quick. If you're not careful, I'll tell you a story about Danny Rubens as well. Wilfred, when he came up to Nottingham, in his spare time, wrote a critique in the Nottingham Evening Post, the local paper, for the local theatre. Now, in those days, the plays used to come up to Nottingham on their pre-London runs. And of one, he wrote, yes, well, it was very good and much appreciated by Nottingham audiences, but it'll never go down in London. That was the Mousetrap. And I always felt a lot more comfortable with Wilfred when I knew that he too Yes, I don't think I can. I'm sure I missed stuff out, but I think.
Right, everybody on Zoom, I'm going to end it all there. So I hope you have a lovely day, and I hope you've enjoyed the service. And thank you, our guests, for coming along as well. So I'm going to stop the recording, and I wish you Shabbat Shalom. I might even show you a bit. There we go. I might show you a bit of that.
Shabbat